If you're a man over 60, you may have felt it creep in slowly. The energy that used to carry you through a full day now runs out by mid-afternoon. The strength you never had to think about, lifting, carrying, climbing the stairs, has quietly faded. And the drive, the interest, the spark that once felt automatic in your work, your hobbies, your intimacy, has dimmed in a way that's hard to talk about. Most men are told the same thing. It's just age. Get used to it. But much of what you're feeling is not simply age. It's a handful of real, often reversible causes. And by the end of this, you'll know the single most powerful thing you can do to turn it around. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the 5 hidden reasons behind that lost energy, strength, and interest, one at a time. Then I'll give you a simple plan I call the Vitality Reset. But the most important part comes at the very end. The one change that does more than all the others combined. The thing I'd tell my own brother to start first. I've saved it for last. Before we begin, tell me in the comments which one faded first for you. Your energy, your strength, or your drive. Just type the word. I read them, and it helps every man watching to see he's not the only one. First, a serious word, because your body may be sending signals worth listening to. If you've noticed trouble with erections, please don't just feel embarrassed and ignore it. In many men, that is one of the earliest warning signs of heart and blood vessel disease. The same narrowing that leads to heart attacks often shows up in the smaller vessels first. So treat it as a reason to see your doctor, not just a private frustration. It can be the earliest gift of warning you'll get. And if what you've really lost is interest in everything, if you feel flat, joyless, or hopeless, not just tired, I want you to hear this gently. That can be depression, which is common in older men, frequently missed, and very treatable. It is not weakness, and you don't have to push through it alone. Please tell your doctor or someone you trust. One more warning before we start. Do not buy those online testosterone boosters, and never self-inject anything you ordered from the internet. What you need first isn't a pill or a needle. It's a simple blood test and an honest conversation. Everything I share today is meant to support your health and point you toward the right questions, never to replace the doctor who can actually examine you. I've spent more than 20 years caring for aging bodies and watching how men, especially, tend to suffer these changes in silence. Stay with me because this may be one of the most useful things you do for yourself all year. Let me show you what's actually happening inside, because it's not one problem, it's a chain reaction. Starting somewhere in your 30s or 40s, your body's testosterone begins a slow decline, drifting down by roughly 1% a year. That's normal, and by itself it's gradual. But testosterone is the hormone that helps maintain your muscle, your energy, your mood, and your sex drive. So as it slips, so do they. Less testosterone makes it easier to lose muscle. Less muscle means you burn less, move less, and tire faster. Moving less lets fat accumulate, especially around the belly. And here's the cruel twist, that belly fat actively converts your remaining testosterone into estrogen, dragging your levels down even further. Layer poor sleep on top, which lowers testosterone more, and stiffening blood vessels, which choke off energy and blood flow, and you have a downward spiral where every problem feeds the next. It can feel like everything gave out at once. But understand this clearly, because it's a spiral, it can be turned the other way. Fix one link, and the others start to lift with it. There's a reason this hits men so hard, and it's worth naming. Because the decline is gradual, most men never see it as a problem to solve. They just quietly lower their expectations, year by year, and call it aging. And because these particular losses touch a man's sense of strength and manhood, they're the ones he's least likely to talk about, even with his own doctor. So the whole thing festers in silence, when nearly every piece of it has an answer. Let's walk through the 5 links, starting with the hormone at the center of it all. The first cause is that testosterone decline itself, sometimes called andropause, the male version of a change of life. As those levels fall, many men notice exactly the cluster you might be feeling. Less energy, a softer body, a lower mood, and a quieter libido. It's real and it's physical, not imaginary or a lack of willpower. The signs go beyond the obvious ones: a shorter fuse or a flatter mood, trouble concentrating, less morning drive, a body that softens even when your eating hasn't changed, and workouts that no longer seem to build anything. Any of those can trace back, in part, to falling testosterone. But I want to be honest with you because the internet oversells this badly. Not every tired man over 60 has low testosterone, and low testosterone is rarely the whole story. That's why guessing, or worse, treating yourself, is a mistake. The right move is a simple blood test, done properly in the morning when levels are highest, so you actually know your number instead of chasing a symptom. If it truly is low, testosterone therapy exists and can help the right man. But it's a genuine medical decision with real trade-offs, effects on the prostate, on blood counts, on fertility, that must be supervised by a doctor. Know your number first. Everything else gets easier once you do. The second cause is the one behind your fading strength, and it has a name most men have never heard: sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle. After 60, men can lose muscle at a startling pace, and it accelerates if you're inactive or not eating enough protein. This is the strength you feel disappearing: the heavier grocery bags, the harder stairs, the chair you now push up from with your arms, and it matters far beyond strength, because muscle is where you burn energy and store vitality. As it shrinks, fatigue and frailty move in. Two things feed muscle back. The first is protein, and most older men simply don't eat enough of it. Aim to include a real source of protein at every meal: eggs, fish, meat, beans, dairy, spread through the day rather than piled into dinner. The second is using the muscle at all, which points straight toward that final fix I'm saving for the end. For now, hear this: the strength loss is not a one-way street. Muscle responds at any age, even in your 70s and 80s. It is waiting to be rebuilt. The third cause is the one that quietly drains your energy while you think you're resting: your sleep. Sleep changes with age, but for a huge number of older men, the real thief is a condition called sleep apnea, where breathing stops and starts through the night, often without them ever knowing. The telltale signs are loud snoring, gasping, and waking up tired no matter how long you were in bed. Here's why it belongs in this video. Broken sleep and untreated apnea directly lower your testosterone and leave you exhausted, foggy, and low. You can eat perfectly and exercise well and still feel wrecked if your nights are quietly falling apart. So if you snore heavily or your partner has watched you stop breathing, ask your doctor about a sleep test. Treating apnea has given some men back their energy, their focus, and their drive faster than almost anything else, because it repairs the foundation everything else is built on. Untreated, it does the opposite. It strains the heart, drives up blood pressure, and keeps your body in a state of stress all night long. And even without apnea, the ordinary rules matter more with age than they used to: a consistent bedtime, a cool, dark room, and no screens or heavy meals late, all help your body reach the deep stages where hormones are actually restored. And be careful with the nightcap that seems to help you sleep, because that brings us to the next culprit. The fourth cause is the belly, and the habits feeding it. That roll of fat around the middle isn't just extra weight, it's active tissue working against you, converting testosterone into estrogen and pumping out signals that worsen inflammation, blood sugar, and fatigue. It's the engine room of the whole spiral, and two everyday habits pour fuel on it. The first is alcohol. That's the drink I warned you about a moment ago. Regular drinking lowers testosterone, disrupts the deep sleep your hormones depend on, and adds empty calories straight to your waist. You don't have to become a monk, but cutting back truly moves the needle for many men. There's a third force feeding that belly too, and it's an invisible one: chronic stress. When you're under constant pressure, your body pumps out a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol both drives fat straight to your middle and works directly against your testosterone. Long-running stress, in other words, quietly attacks your vitality from two directions at once. which is why managing it isn't a luxury, it's part of the treatment. The second is the modern diet of refined carbohydrates and sugar, which spikes blood sugar, drives fat storage, and over time can slide into diabetes, itself a major cause of low energy and erectile trouble. The encouraging truth is that losing even some of that belly fat can raise your testosterone naturally, no prescription required, because you stop the tissue that was stealing it. Trimming the middle is one of the most powerful free treatments you have. The fifth cause is really a short checklist of hidden culprits your doctor can uncover, and it's why blood work matters so much. Certain common medications can quietly flatten your energy and your libido, some blood pressure pills, certain antidepressants, and others. Never stop them on your own, but do ask your doctor whether any could be contributing and whether a different option exists. An underactive thyroid can mimic every symptom in this video: fatigue, low mood, weakness, and it's fixed with a simple pill once it's found. Low vitamin D, low B12, and anemia can all leave you drained, and all are easy to test and correct. And two more forces deserve a place on this list because they hit older men hard and often go unspoken. The first is that chronic stress and its cortisol, which we just met, finding a way to unwind, whether it's walking, prayer, a hobby, or simply time with people you enjoy, is real medicine for your hormones. The second is loneliness and lost connection, which quietly erodes mood, motivation, and the will to take care of yourself. Staying connected to other people is not soft advice, it's protective. And remember what I said at the start. Erectile difficulty can be an early flag for heart disease, and low mood can be depression. Not one of these can be diagnosed from your armchair. That's the entire point of getting real blood tests instead of a bottle of internet pills. You find the specific, fixable reason instead of guessing. Ask your doctor for a proper workup: testosterone, thyroid, vitamin D, B12, blood sugar, and a look at your heart. Knowledge is the treatment that unlocks all the others. And here it is, the one I saved for last, the single most powerful thing you can do, the change that lifts every other link in the chain at once. It's strength training, lifting, working your muscles against resistance 2 or 3 times a week. I know that for some men over 60, that word sounds intimidating. Images of crowded gyms and young men with heavy barbells. Set that picture aside completely. This is not about that, and you are not competing with anyone. It's about asking your muscles to do a little honest work again, in your own home, at your own pace. Hear me out, because nothing else on this list does so much at the same time. Resistance training directly rebuilds the muscle that sarcopenia stole, which restores your strength. It burns the belly fat that was stealing your testosterone. It gives your body a natural, healthy signal to support hormone levels. It sharpens your energy, steadies your blood sugar, strengthens your bones so a fall is less likely to break them. And, study after study shows this, it lifts mood and eases the very low interest and low drive we've been talking about. One habit. Nearly every problem in this video addressed at the same root. You don't need a gym or heavy weights to begin. You can start with your own body, sitting down and standing up from a sturdy chair, wall push-ups, slow steps up and down a stair, a pair of light dumbbells, or even filled water bottles. Start with what you can manage, even a few minutes, and add a little each week. The rhythm is straightforward. Work your muscles 2 or 3 times a week until they feel pleasantly tired. Rest at least a day in between so they can rebuild, and each week try for a little more. 1 more repetition, 1 more step, a slightly heavier bottle. That gradual push is what tells your body to grow stronger. And pair it with a daily walk if you can, because walking keeps the blood vessels healthy, the very vessels behind your energy and your intimacy. So the 2 habits together do even more than either alone. If you have heart trouble or any medical concern, clear it with your doctor first and start gently, but start. This is the lever I'd want my own brother pulling before any other, because it's the closest thing to turning back the clock that actually exists. And it's free. Put it all together, and it becomes a plan you can hold in your head, what I call the vitality reset. 5 levers you pull together. Move, By strength training 2 or 3 times a week, the foundation. Fuel, by eating real protein at every meal to feed the muscle you're rebuilding. Sleep, by protecting your nights and getting checked for apnea if you snore. Trim, by cutting back the alcohol and the sugar and losing some of that belly that's been working against you. And test, by getting the blood work that turns guessing into a real plan with your doctor. 5 levers: move, fuel, sleep, trim, test. And the beauty is that each one makes the others easier. You don't have to pull all 5 at once either. Start with one this week, add another the next, and let the momentum build. Give it 8 to 12 weeks of honest effort before you judge the results, because muscle, hormones, and energy rebuild gradually, not overnight. But many men feel the first lift, a little more energy, a slightly clearer head within the first few weeks. Pull one lever, and the spiral that dragged you down starts finally to climb. Let me speak to you plainly for a moment, not as someone making a video, but as a doctor who has watched too many good men give up too early. I've sat across from men in their 60s who had quietly decided this was simply the end of feeling strong, feeling capable, feeling like themselves. They'd handed it all over to age without a fight. And I've watched some of those same men, a few months after they started moving, eating, sleeping, and testing, walk back in, looking years younger, steadier, brighter, present again. What changed was never a miracle pill or a testosterone shot alone. It was the decision to stop accepting the decline as inevitable and to pull one lever, then another, a blood test that finally named the problem, a few weeks of chair stands, a real conversation with a doctor instead of years of silent shrinking. Small beginnings, but they compounded. I won't promise you the body of your 30s, and I won't lie and say every cause is reversible, because some aren't and some need real medicine. But I will tell you this, plainly. Far more of what you've lost is recoverable than you've been led to believe. Muscle answers the call at any age. Energy returns when the causes are found and fixed. And the difference between the men who got themselves back and the men who faded was rarely luck. It was the quiet decision to begin, long before they felt ready. You can make that decision today, not next year, not after one more tired winter, today, with one blood test booked and one set of chair stands done in your kitchen. That's how it starts. So let's bring it together. The lost energy, strength, and interest you've been blaming on age usually come from 5 fixable causes: falling testosterone, shrinking muscle, broken sleep, a stubborn belly fed by alcohol and sugar, and a short list of hidden medical culprits your doctor can uncover. And the plan is the vitality reset: move, fuel, sleep, trim, and test, anchored by the single most powerful habit of all, strength training. If this gave you something you can actually use, tap like. It helps this reach other men over 60 who are quietly struggling with the same thing and think they're alone. And subscribe, because every week I share one more honest, practical way to stay strong and independent as you age. And I read the comments, so tell me, did you type energy, strength, or drive earlier? And which of the 5 levers will you pull first? Say it out loud, because the men who name their first step are far more likely to actually take it, and you may give another man the push he needed. If it helped, share it with someone, a brother, a friend, a husband who's been slowing down and calling it just getting old. This might be the video that convinces him it doesn't have to be. Take care of yourself. You've spent a lifetime being the strong one for other people. It's not too late to be strong for yourself again. One last thing. Everything here is general educational information based on current understanding and years of clinical experience. It is not personalized medical advice. Do not start or stop any medication, supplement, or hormone on your own, and never use testosterone products bought outside a doctor's care. If you have erectile difficulty, a sudden change in energy or mood, chest symptoms, or you feel hopeless or lost interest in life, please talk with your doctor. Some of these can be early signs of conditions that are very treatable when caught. That isn't just a legal disclaimer. It's sincere advice from Dr. Hale, someone who would very much like you strong, steady, and enjoying your life for many years to come. Take care of yourself. And today, do one set of chair stands and book that blood test.